A crypto heist is in front of us, my friends. Oh, yes. Hey, guys, it's Wes Spencer here. In today's video, we are jumping into the PolyNetwork hack, a $600 million attack. It is new and breaking. We're going to cover what's happening right now. This thing is going on as we speak. I'm going to cover why it's important, what you need to know about it, and what's going to happen in the aftermath. Don't go away. You definitely want to follow this video because there are lessons learned for everybody involved in crypto. All of this and a whole bunch more coming right up. Alrighty, YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining. Wes Spencer here. You know, this is one of these kinds of days when, from my perspective, my worlds all collide. If you don't know me, if it's your first time finding my channel, hey there, I am actually a cybersecurity executive by trade. I'm an entrepreneur. I've built and sold multiple different companies, and I absolutely love crypto. And this is my world. Like, when all of these things combine together, this is a very interesting time. And so, first of all, in this video, we're going to jump into what happened in the PolyNetwork attack. We're going to go into the guts of a lot more of it so you can really understand what happened and even do some more analysis on your own. And as we get started, one thing I will say is I am so glad you're here. On this channel, there's no moon pumping. All we do is dive into cryptos that interest me and the news surrounding it, like this event right here. So one thing you could do for me, if you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and definitely hit the bell icon. All of those things go a really long way for this channel and for me to reach not just you, but so many more people. And another thing quickly too, we have got subscriptions available. That is just a better and deeper way for you and me to connect. I would love to see you there. I don't gate content. I'm not about that, but it's just an awesome way. So check that out. Just right down here, hit the join button and you can check out all of the different options that are available to you. And I would love to see you do that if it's right for you. Okay, so let's jump in. There's a ton of news articles around this. I've had a bunch of friends send me a lot of them. By the way, we're going to dive into a lot of stuff today around this entire attack. And so all of the links I share will be in the description down below, so you'll be able to get to them. And sorry for like my little box right here, kind of in the corner of the screen. A couple of the sites I'm going to show, I kind of had to move where my face was on the screen to kind of accommodate. So sorry, it's not in the normal spot. So this is from Bitcoinist. I really like Bitcoinist. Sometimes their articles go in a little bit more technically deep than, you know, a lot of the ones you'll see. And so I did some searching. This is one of my favorite ones where they really talk about what's happening. There's not too much for me to really tackle in the article itself, other than to say this is one of my sources that I use to pull some information from to show you in the video. So here it is. Definitely go give Bitcoinist a look and take a look at the article itself from Ronaldo. It's really good. So first of all, what the heck is PolyNetwork? And let me just go back full screen to say this right from the get-go. Polyscreen is not Polygon or Matic. I've done at least one video on Matic. In fact, I did it when we saw the whole bear market kick in and crypto just nosedived from the all-time highs. One crypto that didn't struggle was Polygon. Let me be super clear. This attack has nothing to do with Matic or Polygon. They have not been compromised. They are not included in this attack. It just so happens that PolyNetwork and Polygon/Matic, which is the new name for them, happen to share names. And so I want to clear this up right here and right now because I've seen a lot of misinformation just all over. It's like Reddit and other news sources. This does not involve the huge crypto Polygon or Matic. This is totally different. So what the heck is PolyNetwork? Well, let me show it to you. So I'm going to go back to my screen now that I've given you my disclaimer here. This right here is Poly.network. And think of it as a protocol. I think it was developed by the Neo guys. Neo is a Chinese cryptocurrency proof of stake. I have a bunch of Neo. I've been in Neo for a really long time. Never made a video about it, but would be happy to do so if you guys are interested in it. And so what it's about doing is it's a DeFi platform that gives the capability for multi-chain, cross-chain kind of stuff, which is nice. And there's a whole lot more to it than that, but let's just start with this. One of the things you absolutely have to know when it comes to crypto, and I have covered this in a different video, is the number one rule of crypto. If you don't have the keys to your own cryptocurrency, it is not your crypto. That is something to think about all the time. You are responsible for your own crypto. There is no one that's going to help you. This is not like a bank where, you know, money gets miswired somewhere and oftentimes they'll help you. There's fraud, you report it, and oftentimes they'll reverse it. Sorry, my friends, it doesn't work that way. In the world of crypto, it's the wild, wild west. You are on your own. And so when you choose to lend out your crypto or you tend to give it to like a DeFi platform to earn, you are inheriting risk. You're inheriting risk from the contract itself or the operational security of the company itself. Let me give you an example. I did a video on Celsius. I've done multiple videos on Celsius. In fact, here's the link to the very first one right there. I gave them 100,000 US dollars equivalent of Bitcoin because I wanted to see how it would grow. I'm still leaving my funds with Celsius. Why am I doing that? Well, the growth that I'm earning on it is very exciting to me. But I also recognize the fact that I'm inheriting risk from working with Celsius, that they need to make sure that they keep my funds safe. And this is the same whether it's Celsius, it's Nexo, it's BlockFi, it's Crypto.com. There's a ton of these platforms where you can store crypto and it can grow alongside. That's an awesome thing, but you always need to do your due diligence and understand the risks involved when you do something like that. The second rule of crypto is never invest more than you're willing to lose. And the reason that that is so important is it's not just investing, but it's even like where I store. So let's say I had, I don't know, $1 million of crypto and I put all 1 million inside of Celsius and Celsius had some major hack. Now, hopefully that would never happen, but if you can't afford to lose that, you should probably not do that. You should diversify your funds, right? And so I think all of this comes back to us loud and clear in a situation like this. And by the way, if you are struggling, if you've been involved in the PolyNetwork attack, my friend, let me put my arm right around you. I have been in your shoes. In this channel right here, I've covered a lot of that. In fact, go watch this video right up there. This is a video all about the rise and fall of Mt. Gox. I covered what happened with the prolific creation and the epic fall of Mt. Gox, and I was one of the impacted people. So I know what it's like to have some of your crypto lost. And I know the pain and toil that comes with it, but I also know the lessons learned, which is what? First of all, not your keys, not your crypto. Second of all, never invest more than you're willing to lose, whether it's with a crypto or a platform you hold with it, anything like that. Okay, there's my Professor Wes, my friendly dad advice for you to be careful when it comes to crypto. So going back to PolyNetwork, what the heck happened with them? Well, we can check right here on their site. Basically, they say that they were attacked, and I guess that's true, right? What really happened was there was a weakness in the contract code. And this is where all of the risk involves when it comes to things like burn tokens, DeFi, and any kind of smart contract that happens to run on something like BSC, something like Cardano, something like Ethereum, is you are not just trusting the capabilities of the blockchain, but you're also trusting in the capabilities of the contract itself. And as interesting news would have it, there was a weakness in the contract code. Now, I know most of you in my audience are not super technical, and so I'm not going to attempt to jump into what those weaknesses were in the contract code itself, but I'll give you a few friendly pieces of advice. First of all, be careful when you invest in some kind of token. Tokens are run by smart contracts. Smart contracts are only as secure as the contract has been written itself. Now, how do we mitigate that? Well, I told you I'm full of links today, right? Right up here is another video that I did around contract audits. And I knew when I produced the video, it wouldn't be like one of those rocket ship videos. I knew it would be sort of this evergreen content that would stick around for a really long time, but it's so important to understand you've got to do due diligence when you get yourself involved in any contract out there at all. And by the way, this is why I don't often cover a ton of like contract-based tokens on my channel. A lot of people reach out to me all the time saying, Wes, can you review this token? Can you review that token? And I'm thinking, I'm afraid to kind of put my influence behind a certain token until I've done enough due diligence on it, because I don't want to be responsible for showing you a crypto that I'm excited about and then all of a sudden it falls apart based on a huge weakness in the contract. I am very, very well aware of that. And so you need to always do your due diligence when it comes to contracts and contract-based security. So here we go. You can see the whole story here. And one of the things that happened, they gave the address of the attacker. In other words, the source address of where the funds were sent to. These were the public addresses, so we can chase these down. And I'm going to do that with you here in just a minute. Also, we can see some additional things that they said. They called on like Coinbase Pro, OKX, Binance, Tether, Circle Pay, a whole bunch of these, sort of like sounding the alarm, saying you need to blacklist not just this address, but these tokens. And that brings up something really interesting to me, is the fact that crypto, while we often talk about how awesome it is, and we sort of talk about how secure and safe it is, it actually has some elements to it that cause some things that may scratch your head and wonder. One of those elements is this. We talk about the fungibility of the US dollar, right? We say things like, the US dollar is not as, anonymous as Bitcoin. That's why bad guys like Bitcoin. Well, it's not necessarily true, right? So here's some interesting things I want you to think about. Yeah, let's say I had a bunch of stolen money that I stole from someplace. If we didn't know like the serial numbers on the dollars, those dollars are fungible. I could exchange one here and there, and you may not ever know that came from stolen money, right? Because $1 is the same as another dollar, and unless I happen to know that particular serial code, you're never going to know. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most other cryptocurrencies don't operate that way. We can actually mark things on a blockchain. And I'm going to show this to you in a minute. We've already seen some websites that do like Etherscan and others that have already marked these funds as stolen. And they'll always be marked as stolen. In other words, they are tainted, and they will always be tainted. And that has bearing for you, it has bearing for me, it has bearing for the attacker who may try to sell this on an exchange. They're going to have a hard time finding a buyer when it's known, tainted, stolen crypto. It just makes life much more difficult. To use an example, what if I took US dollars that I know were stolen, I wrote on a red marker, this was stolen. You would now know that particular dollar is different than all the rest of them because it has stolen written on it. It's still a dollar, but it now says stolen on it. And this is something that I think is really brilliant in the world of crypto that doesn't get enough communication. So let's go even further into this story, shall we? I'm going to share my screen back out. And I want to show you Slow Mist. Now, I had to run this through Google Translator because this is a Chinese site. And by the way, when I talked about and shared some of the token audits and cybersecurity firms that focus in blockchain security, these guys, Token Mist, was one of the ones that I actually covered. And I didn't cover them a lot, but I did show them to you because they're very well known in China. And so they've done some research, and according to Slow Mist, the attacker has made what we call some operational security or OPSEC mistakes. Now, OPSEC mistakes are always scary if you're a bad guy. You make one mistake and we detect it, you're going to be in trouble. If you want an example of that, I told you we're example laden here today. Look at one of the very first videos I ever made on this YouTube channel. This is almost 10 years ago. I covered the rise and fall of the Silk Road. And I covered Ross Ulbricht, and allegedly, I should say, how he made some operational security mistakes leading to him being discovered. Now, there's a lot of contention around all of that, and that's way beyond the scope of this channel. I'm just sharing with you some operational security mistakes. And it looks like in this case, the same thing occurred. So Slow Mist is saying, look, we've actually identified this person. We know their mailbox. I assume they mean their actual mail address, their IP address, and the device fingerprint. Now, that's interesting because if that's the case, they may be able to share that with whoever the local authorities are, and they may go and take care of this situation. Now, of course, it depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on a whole lot of things. I am no lawyer and would never pretend to say whether this is true or not, or what the ramifications are for the bad guy. But if you wonder how something like this could happen, I'll show you. It's pretty simple. A lot of times when you use a crypto address of some kind and you buy and sell cryptocurrency, especially on centralized exchanges, that data is tracked. And there are ways that we can correlate and track a lot of different data to be able to zone in and hone in on a particular transaction, a particular user, or even associate cryptos of having been washed or cleaned or sent through one system or another in an attempt to anonymize. And there are companies that do this. Want an example of one? Here's Chainalysis. So this is what Chainalysis does. It says you can't quite see it, but building trust in blockchains. Chainalysis is all about doing some very interesting analysis on how transactions are made to be able to track and look for signs of all kinds of things, whether it's money laundering, it's how like transmissions of people, doing certain things on certain sites, I'll just say, things like that, Chainalysis, and there are others that are all about doing this. And so these kinds of things sometimes happen, and it makes it very difficult for a bad guy, especially one that steals $600 million worth of crypto, to be as hidden as they may want. So let's move on, shall we? Let's actually take a peek at some of the transactions. So right here, I have brought up some of the transactions in Etherscan all around this particular attack. And what we're looking at here is a bunch of transactions that have all come in to this PolyNetwork exploiter. Now this right here, just so you know, what you see right here is this is a tagged name that Etherscan has put in for that particular address. These are all incoming transactions to the known address that's been involved, the attacker, their actual address itself. So let's open one, and I want to show you some information inside of it. So as I click on this, some things are going to show directly up. First of all, here is the actual address. You see right here, let me highlight it so you can make sure you're looking at what I'm looking at. And Etherscan has already done the work for us of tagging this particular address. There's some additional information here that we'll go and look at, but not quite yet. I'm going to save that for just a minute. The next thing we may want to do is we're just investigating is we might want to click directly on this address and say, what's going on with it right now? Notice a bunch of things show up. First of all, in red, we have a warning. This address is reported to be involved in a PolyNetwork exploit. I could click on this and it would take me to the actual Twitter page itself. Holy cow, look at this, the balance. It is 28,000 Ethereum. Current value, $90 million. Now you may be wondering, Wes, I thought you said this was a $600 million attack. Well, we're only looking at Ethereum. There were other cryptos that were involved in this actual attack, like Binance Smart Chain and the contract involved in that one. So the attacker has multiple sources of cryptocurrency, but this is what his current source is right now with Ethereum. So we can see the tagging, we can see the address, we can even see they tagged it as a heist and an exploit. And by the way, you can click on these things. If you want to see some of these, you can like click on them just like I did right here, and you can actually have a lot of fun going through all. Now, obviously not a lot of fun if you were involved in one of these, but you can take a look at this. Remember how I said these things are tagged forever. It's interesting. People don't talk about this enough in the world of crypto, of just how much tagging and data can reside in a blockchain and give us really interesting information. Okay, so going back to it, here is the address itself. And we can see all kinds of stuff, but here's what I'm going to do. You're not going to actually be able to see me click on this because my video is in the way, but you're going to see the ramifications of it. So I clicked a little options button right here. And what I'm going to sort for is, instead of like all transactions, both in and out, I am going to sort for only outgoing transactions to start. So I'm going to click on this right here, and this is all outgoing transactions that have occurred from this wallet. So as we begin to scroll through and look, there are a number of transactions, actually not all that many, that have occurred. And so we can actually peek at some of these and see some really interesting things once you kind of peer through the blockchain and get some ideas of what's happening. So first of all, a couple of things that have happened first. We can open any of these. This is the very first outgoing transaction there was right here. We can take a look at this. It was successful. We can see it's from this particular attacker. We can see it's going to the contract itself. We can click down here to see any notes around it. Now this is just going to be, just some machine code. This is the very first transaction. It looks like it may have been a test for something. But as we begin to look in a little bit more, take a look up here. You see these 3 failed transactions. These 3 transactions attempted to go through over to curve.fi, and they were rejected. They were rejected because curve.fi heard the call to arms, and they heard the cry from Polygon Network or PolyNetwork saying you need to blacklist these funds. And so they did, and that's why those failed. But notice, not all of them have failed. If we take a look right here at, let's see, this one here, oh, this one is interesting. So let me just click on it so you can see the whole thing, right? It looks like there was a successful transaction, 13 Ethereum, $41,000 that was sent from this bad guy to whoever this hanashiro.eth is. Well, that's interesting. Why would this attacker have sent Ethereum to this particular guy or gal, whoever, or entity, whoever this is? Let's take a peek and see what we can determine on that. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go back to all the transactions. And what I'm going to do is, once again, you won't be able to see this, but I'm going to sort for incoming transactions. Instead of only looking at outgoing transactions, let's take a look at incoming. So there are a whole lot, even some that have happened as much as a minute ago. And we're going to dive into some of these kind of live at the time of this video in just a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to the very bottom, and I'm going to go down to last. And the reason I'm going down to last is I want to show you down at the very bottom. Oh, interesting. Look at this right here. The second transaction ever happened 5.5 hours ago, was from this same person that was earlier paid. That's interesting. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to open this transaction and notice way before $40,000 was sent to this hanashiro.eth, this hanashiro.eth sent a message to the attacker. What's in the message? Did you know in cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many others, when you send a transaction, you can also include input data? Here's some very interesting input data. This may look like nothing to you, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to click on View Input As, and we're going to change the encoding. This is not encryption. This is encoding. I'm going to change the encoding to UTF-8. Look at this. You can see the well, I'm going to call this guy a bad guy, Hanashiro, because he's warning him. He's saying, don't use your USD token. You've gotten blacklisted. So very early on, before the news cycles picked this up, before I made a video on this, 5 hours ago, you see this hanashiro.eth warn the attacker, don't use these tokens. You've been blacklisted. So what does that mean? As far as I can tell, it looks like the attacker, once he saw this and he realized what had happened, he sent some of his cryptocurrency, 13 ETH, $41,000 worth, as a thank you to Hanashiro. That is really interesting. And there's a whole bunch more of these transactions, and we can just click on some and see. Some of them may just be people sending them money, being like, yeah, good for you, doing something against the man, or whatever it may be. It looks like this one is, but many of them will actually have messages encoded in them. And let's go take a peek at some. We're going way back over to the first. Now, keep in mind, this is a PG rated channel, and I can't control the things that may come up in here because these are brand new. This is 3 minutes ago, and I've been recording for longer than 3 minutes. So I have no idea what's in this transaction. We're just going to click it. We're going to click down here to see more. Okay, that's just a regular transaction, 0x. Let's see if we can find one, though, because I'm pretty sure we will. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we're going to click on UTF-8. What did a hacker... I can't even read it. Whatever, you can just hit pause and try to decipher that yourself. It doesn't look like that was a native English speaker. And there's many of these that exist. Here's another one. Click on the private note. Look, that one is encoded as well. Hi, I'm Miner. Help me build a house. Today's my birthday. So here's what's going on here. Many people are simply hoping that this attacker, who now owns thousands and thousands of Ethereum, will give some back to certain people. But I just got to be honest. Do you really want tainted Ethereum that you're going to have a hard time trading and selling? It's not like you're going to be able to take that Ethereum and move it over to like Coinbase or to Gemini or to Celsius and have them earn. They're going to know about it. It's been tagged forever. Imagine going into a bank with a whole bunch of marked bills in red ink, like I said before, that have all been written stolen. It's going to be really hard for you to do something with that. So you're going to have to launder it. You're going to have to do something different with it. And this is the value of cryptocurrency at play. So there you have it. It's all very, very interesting. And one final thing I want to show you is how the attacker is communicating. I'm going to show you how this works. So in this case, I'm going to copy and paste their address, the actual attacker's address. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. Instead of looking at all of the transactions coming directly to the attacker, I am going to filter only ones coming to the attacker from the attacker. I'm going to paste in that actual address. The reason I'm doing that is this is the way the attacker has chosen to communicate, at least for now, is they're sending messages from themselves to themselves. It's a way to authenticate that it's directly from them without any shadow of a doubt. So I've already peeked at these. I'm going to show you the two newest. So we're going to start with this one right here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click to see more. It's encoded, of course. We're going to decode it. And look what they say. It would have been $1 billion hack if I had moved remaining bleep coins. Again, PG channel. Did I just save the project? Not so interested in money now, considering returning some of the tokens or just leaving them here. Well, that's interesting. Are you saying that now that you've been sort of doxxed by Slowmist, or at least allegedly doxxed by Slowmist? You know, who knows? I could never pretend to know the mind of the attacker. They obviously found a weakness in the code. They exploited it. They became filthy rich beyond imagining, at least in theory, as we've discussed. And now they're having second thoughts. Well, those second thoughts continue to go on. is here's the newest one. This came in about 2.5 hours ago. We're going to see more, and we're going to see what they say. And here we go, UTF-8. What if I had made a new token? I think he's talking about future tense. Like, what if I make a new token and let the DAO decide where the tokens go? Now, in my last video, I covered DAOs. DAOs are like an open source way to create a community that decides the direction of certain things. So I could write into the contract, I could let everyone in the DAO participate in voting based on what shares they have, and then apparently this bad guy, this attacker is going to say, I'll reroute the tokens and give them to somebody else. A lot of reasons they may want to do that. One is to get off local pressure and heat from whoever their local authorities are. It may be that maybe they view themselves as a Robin Hood of sorts. I could never say. But it's interesting to see this is how they are communicating, and we'll see what happens as time goes on, both after the production of this video and just what we see. If there's additional messages that are communicated, we'll have a better idea of what happened. But for now, there you go. This is laden with news for all of us as well. If you were impacted by PolyNetwork, my sincerest concerns and condolences for you. I've been involved in those kinds of things. They are never fun. If you haven't, hopefully you've learned some things. Not your keys, not your crypto. And number 2 is simply this: never invest more than you're willing to lose. And third, I hope you've had fun just diving into a blockchain with me. I don't really get to do enough of that in this channel, but when news events like this happen, it is fun to kind of just jump in and see the activity that's happening. And I invite you to do the same thing. Look at some of the new transactions that are happening and occurring. Look at what people are asking for them. Most of them are asking for free funds and a handout, but I think it's interesting to see what's happening inside of all that. And then even seeing how the attacker is communicating and thinking, how he thanked the one person that warned them by sending them $40,000 of tainted Ethereum. And additionally, how others are trying to get in on that game as well. So what we really see is most blockchains are not as anonymous as we might think. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I have certainly had a lot of fun producing it for you. If you liked it, hit like, hit subscribe. It really goes a long way for this channel. All right, guys, thank you so much.